In 1968, two Harvard researchers walked into an elementary school. They gave every student a standard IQ test. Then they lied. They told the teachers that certain students, completely at random, were about to experience an intellectual bloom, that these kids were on the verge of a cognitive breakthrough. By the end of the school year, those students had dramatically higher IQ scores. Not because they were special, because someone believed they were. This is called the Rosenthal Effect, and it doesn't just apply to children in classrooms. It applies to you, right now, in everything you're doing or failing to do. Most people think their limitations are real, that the ceiling they hit every time they try something new is a fact of life, a biological limit, a talent gap, a destiny. But what if the ceiling isn't made of stone? What if it's made of expectation? Here's what the research actually says. When a person internalizes a belief about their own potential, whether that belief is true or not, the brain begins to construct a reality that confirms it, not metaphorically, neurologically. The brain rewires itself to prove you right. And the terrifying part? It works both ways. But here's the real problem. Most people are running the Rosenthal effect against themselves. Every time you say, "I'm not the kind of person who," every time you quit before starting because you already know how it ends, every time you look in the mirror and confirm the story you've been telling yourself for years, you are running an experiment, and you are the test subject, and you already decided the result. The brain doesn't distinguish between a limiting belief that came from trauma, from a teacher, from your parents, and one you simply repeated enough times to make it feel like truth. Repetition is the mechanism, belief is the drug, and you've been self-medicating for years. The question isn't whether this is affecting you. The question is, what story is your brain currently building reality around? We'll get to that, but first, you need to understand exactly how deep this goes. In neuroscience, this is called self-directed neuroplasticity. Your brain is not static. It is not fixed at birth, or at 25, or at whatever age you're at right now. It is constantly remodeling itself based on input, and the most powerful input it receives is from you. The thoughts you repeat, the stories you rehearse, the identity you perform, even when no one is watching. In the original Rosenthal experiment, the teachers didn't even consciously treat the bloomers differently. The shift was subtle, almost invisible. But the expectation changed the way they asked questions, the way they weighted her answers, the amount of time they gave before moving on, the tone of voice when a student struggled. Micro-signals, every hour, every day. Now apply that to yourself. What micro-signals are you sending your own brain? When you fail once and say figures, that's a signal. When you succeed and immediately discount it, that's a signal. When you look at someone further ahead and feel defeat instead of data, that's a signal. Your brain is receiving all of it, cataloging it, building your reality brick by brick from the material you give it. Rosenthal called this the Pygmalion effect, the idea that high expectations lead to high performance. But what's less discussed is the dark side, the golem effect, the scientific documentation of how low expectations destroy potential from the inside out. Most people aren't suffering from a lack of ability, they're suffering from a confirmed internal prediction. And here's where everything most people say about this gets it wrong. They tell you, just believe in yourself, change your mindset, think positive. That is not what Rosenthal found. He didn't find that belief alone changes performance. He found that belief changes behavior, and behavior changes outcomes. The mechanism isn't magic, it's mechanical. If you believe you can handle pressure, you don't avoid pressure. And the more you engage with pressure, the better you get at handling it. And the better you get, the more the belief deepens. The loop, the Rosenthal loop. But here's the terrifying implication that no one talks about. You can't just decide to believe something different. The brain doesn't accept a new belief because you want it to. It accepts a new belief because the evidence supports it. So the question isn't how do you think differently? The question is what do you do right now to give your brain different evidence to work with? Because your brain is always building, always confirming, always looking for proof of what it already suspects. The only question is, what are you feeding it? This is where the work begins. Not with affirmations, not with vision boards, not with a 5-minute morning journal where you write down what you're grateful for. With action designed to contradict your current belief system. The Rosenthal effect works in reverse when you force the brain to process new evidence. You don't wait to feel capable before you act. You act, and the feeling of capability follows. This is not motivation. This is neuroscience. When you do something your current self-concept says you can't, your brain enters a state of cognitive dissonance. It cannot hold two contradictory realities at once, and one of them has to give. If you push hard enough, often enough, with enough consistency, the old belief cracks, not all at once, not in a moment of inspiration, brick by brick, the same way it was built. The teachers in Rosenthal's study didn't know they were running an experiment, but the results were real. The IQ scores were real. The change in performance was documented, measured, replicated. What was the intervention? One simple shift in expectation. Now, imagine you ran that experiment on yourself, deliberately, with full understanding of the mechanism. What would change? Most people are waiting for permission, waiting to feel ready, waiting for someone to look them in the eye and say, "You are capable of this." That's the Rosenthal effect working against you, because the only person whose expectation of you matters is you. Not because that sounds good, because that is literally how your brain builds its model of reality. You are the teacher in your own classroom, and right now you are deciding, consciously or not, which version of your students is going to bloom. The brain does not transform predictions into reality by accident. It does it with 89% efficiency. The question has never been whether you have what it takes. The question is what you've been telling your brain to build. If this changed how you see yourself, even slightly, the next video will go deeper. Because the Rosenthal effect is just the beginning. What happens when you weaponize it intentionally against your own limitations? That's what Mind Siege is about.